Good morning, ladies and gents, boys and girls. You may have spotted a slight machine behind me. That one, you know, the baler that I got scammed on. The baler that I got scammed of about 4 or 5 grand on. Lots of money to lose. So anyway, if you haven't seen the previous video I did on this, where I explained exactly how it was botched together and exactly how I got scammed, on screen now, you can go and watch it. For those of you that have watched it will know what the problems was. Now, in that video, there was quite a few debates on how I was going to fix it. Some of them being more expensive than others, some of them being cheaper than others. So before we go into how I've actually fixed this, and whether I did the expensive or cheap option, I will play a little clip of the last video where you can see what was wrong with it, and I explain what was wrong with it. And then we will jump back to me fixing it in the workshop. And I'll explain how I've gone about fixing it and whether or not it's cost me thousands to fix or not. But I'll give you a slight hint. I don't know if it works yet. So these all spin. The gears, as you can see, that should not do that. Excuse the light's not the best. Anyway, what it turns out is, I don't know if you can see there, it's had 3 spot welds attached to it. So what's happened is, like for example this one down here, I'll get the phone torch. Right, so there you can see, oh bloody hell. Right, there, you can see that it's got a little key in it, this little key here, which holds this gear, stops it from spinning on the shaft. And then in the shaft you've got a little keyway that it sits in. So anyway, what's happened is, the blokes obviously ran it like it for quite a while, not realised that the key was missing, so that's been essentially doing that with the shaft and not actually spinning the whole shaft. So rather than kind of replace these items like you should have done, what he's decided to do is just spot weld it on there, just to run it up to sell it, is what I would say. Some people say that I should have noticed it or whatever, which is a fair point, because obviously that one's ruined, this one's proper ruined. I mean, that, you know, there's no arguing that that is just ruined, and there's no way that the bloke didn't know about it. So as you would have seen from a bit of that footage, I decided to weld the shafts. 2 reasons. New shafts and rollers, which are these items that run all the way through. They're 500 quid each. Now you times that by 2, that's £1,000 gone already. Now there's a lot of suggestions, and I actually did have the idea of taking Z shaft out of the machine And there are people with big enough lathes that can lathe them down, obviously weld them up and lathe them down, or just create new shafts that sit inside the part of the roller, which also worked out to be about £400, 350-ish per shaft, so still 800-900 quid. So at that point you may as well go for new ones, because obviously they wear down over time. So if the metal on the roller was already thin, there's no point sorting the shaft out if that's only got another, say, 2,000 barrels in it. Otherwise you're going to be finding the expense again after. So I decided I'd weld them up myself. Still on the machine, not ideal because of the bearings, but I kept the bearings cool, you know, with water, kept them cool as I could. Didn't get them too hot, I hope not anyway, for reasons which you will find out soon. Because let's just say if the bearings are bad now, it's a big job to replace them. But anyway, we'll carry on now. Right, so as you would have seen, I've welded up the shafts. Now comes the sprocket issue. Now I'll put a picture on screen now of the rounded out sprocket. So one of them was close enough that it was going to be okay, to an extent, depending on how you were going to fix it, but the way I fixed it means that that one was okay. The other one, which I think is an original one, was really badly oblonged. Oblonged, is that the right word? Oblonged? Not round, essentially, so it was like one side of it was an okay diameter and the other side was way big. So, how did I fix that with our lathe, if you're wondering? I present to you a bearing like this. And you're probably thinking, what is this man going on about? He's lost his marbles. So, bearing, cut the outer race off, which I can show you from the one that I actually did use, which I don't know where it's, around here somewhere. Anyway, you get the idea. I don't know what I've done with that, but you get the idea. Cut the outer race of the bearing off, so you're left with just the inside bit there. Left with that piece. Lovely bit of metal, you're saying, yes. Now, how do you get that to fit in a weird shaped hole? Well, what you do is you use a bench grinder and you grind one side down and leave the other side, so you're making it like a, I don't know the best way of describing it. You're almost making it like this. This is a good way to show you. See this? See this here? It's fat at the bottom, thin at the top. So that's what I essentially had to make out of a bearing, a bit similar to this really, which I then put in the hole, got it as square in the hole as I could on the sprocket, welded it in there, and yeah, that's how I repaired that one. Whether that's going to last is questionable. However, I do think it's going to be stronger than it was before because, well, for quite a few reasons, which we'll get into in a second.
She's almost good to go, sitting in the yard. I got the tools my uncle left and all the right spare parts. You say you're done with Texas, Oklahoma is too hard, and you wanna ride down Sunset Boulevard. I got paid on Friday, got a pocket full of cash. Put your suitcase in the trunk and your bare feet on the dash. Once we get to Vegas, it really ain't that far till we're gonna ride down Sunset Boulevard. Palm trees and limousines, what a way to go. A house down by the ocean, 90210. Riding with the top down, we'll live like movie stars, turning heads on Sunset Boulevard. Your bank account. We only got one life to live, and it's time we're heading out. I bought some brand new tires and put them on this car. We'll leave our mark on Sunset Boulevard. Palm trees and limousines, what a way to go. A house down by the ocean, 90210. Riding with the top down, we'll live like movie stars, turning heads on Sunset Boulevard. Where the men are made of money and the women are all blonde, in the land of milk and honey, down by the cement pond. Palm trees and limousines, what a way to go. A house down by the ocean, 90210. Riding with the top down, we'll live like movie stars, turning heads on Sunset Boulevard. Shining bright on Sunset Boulevard. You're kicking ass on Sunset Boulevard.
Right, this is the bit you've all been waiting for. How am I going to connect such and such to such and such? So you would have known I've welded the shafts, including the keyways, I welded them up. then you're probably crying thinking, God, what is this man doing? He's ruined it. Yeah, so you would have seen that I welded the shafts up and the keyways are on the shaft, so they're no more. Now, I figured that even if I could get the keyway in there, grind it back out, file it out, whatever, and get the keyway back in the gear, that it was never going to last, because Weld is generically not as strong as the shaft, so eventually it would just wear itself out. And considering that the keyway, which is called a jib key, I think, is all that holds the gear on there, as well as taking the force that's transferred through the chain onto the sprockets, it does like two purposes in one. It was just never going to be strong enough. So I decided that I would just weld the sprocket onto the shaft. Which is good, but it creates a few problems. One of the problems being that if the bearing behind ever breaks, I've got to cut it back off, which is not going to be fun. And I was a bit worried because I put quite a bit of heat in welding that up. However, I had a small trickle of water running on the bearing to try and keep it cool as possible. Admittedly not ideal, but what else do you do in these circumstances? And if anything, I've not ruined anything because it was already ruined to start with. So I did that. So the actual sprocket is now welded to the shaft in picture exhibit A on screen. Do I think it's stronger? I actually do. I think that the little jib key, you're talking not much metal that holds that on and transfers the force of it. So personally, I think it's going to be stronger and will probably never break. However, obviously, it comes with its downsides of if I need to replace the bearing or the sprocket, it's a cut-off sort of job, which is quite long. But that is just how I fixed that. Right, so I'm hoping that's explained it good enough of how I fixed this lovely class Baler. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of critics in the comments that are probably going to go mad at what I've done and probably going to be fuming that I didn't do it properly, or I'm just as much of a bodge artist as he was, and blah-de-blah-de-blah. But look, one, it's mine and I'm not selling it to someone, and if I was selling it to someone, I'd tell them about that. Secondly, I think it's stronger than it was before, when it came out of the factory, maybe, to an extent, possibly. But thirdly, it's just a cost-effective. I don't know whether the rest of this machine works. So the thought of spending £4 on something to just then find out if the rest of it works, nah, not a part of me. So that's how I fixed it. Now, the biggest question in the room is, does it work, which we'll get onto in a minute. I have spun it up since doing that, and I must admit, considering the chain and the sprockets are fairly square, they sit fairly square on the shaft, they don't wobble about or anything like that. I've had it up to 540, 550, doesn't wobble, seems pretty good. And other than that, I think that's about that. I noticed one other issue which I got to weld up, but that's fine. So anyway, that's how I've done it. If anybody would have done it any differently, let me know in the comments. I'm sure people will. Truth be told, probably not going to buy anything off Facebook Marketplace anymore because it's just a scam. But anyway, the big question in the room is, does it work? And unfortunately, you've got to wait until the next video to find out. And I don't even know if it works yet. So we'll find out together. So if you did enjoy this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment on how you would have fixed it. And I will see you in the next one.